Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy. I represent database marketing team. Welcome to our webinar, which is dedicated to best practices for using Galera by MySQL users. Please be aware that we'll share the webinar materials with you via email soon after the webinar is over. Usually it takes us a week or so, but you'll get the presentation and the video recording as well. You can ask questions during the webinar using the corresponding tab, and our speaker will answer them after the webinar. And we will have a few polls today. I think we have 3 of them. And I will be launching them from time to time and ask you to vote. So let me introduce our today's speaker. It's Mike Rickmas, our MySQL expert working for database as well. Hello, Mike. So are you ready to take the virtual stage and present?
Hi, everyone. Hi, attendees. I see some names whom I already know. Glad to see you here. I'm glad you attended this webinar. I hope you will enjoy it. So let me start from beginning. Can you see my screen, my presentation?
Not yet. Now
Not
I can
yet.
see it.
It's okay now, right?
Okay. Yeah, it works.
Okay, so like I said, welcome to the world of Galera. I specifically want to mention, personally, I very like Galera. This probably was in a like 12 years ago when I first time presented it, and we met with Stacy each other first time at the conference when I presented Galera. Nothing changed since that. I like it, so let me introduce you this good solution. So for those who don't know me, I'm Mike. I'm software engineer with experience in database administration, as DB and DevOps, working with clouds, infrastructures, deployment, project where I manage petabytes of data, optimizing performance, scaling infrastructure, whatever business needs this data. Yeah, I can do this for them. And my primary focus is, of course, MySQL, MariaDB, particularly Postgres, Cassandra, and other databases. And today, let me introduce our agenda. We will be talking about understanding what is Galera cluster, what are key features and benefits of Galera cluster, what are load balancing strategies, and why load balancing is required or needed at all when you are using Galera. What are best practices for Galera deployment, how to optimize performance and scalability. And in the end, you'll be able to ask me some questions. We will have a talk. I will try to answer all of them for you. Let me also mention that in the end of conversation of presentation, I will present you another webinar in this series. So in 1 month, I hope to meet all of you again, because today we will talk about load balancing and high availability briefly. It will be like overview, and with much more details we will talk in 1 month. So let me introduce Galera to you. It's a modern solution for MySQL and MariaDB. It's enabling high availability and data consistency. It's a certification-based semi-synchronous replication for MySQL and MariaDB. It's not synchronous, it's not asynchronous, it's semi-synchronous, and I will try to explain you later what does this mean, what is certification based, and how does it work. So Galera helps us to ensure the data is consistent by using transaction certification. It provides high availability and scalability for mission critical applications, and of course it's minimizes the risk of data loss, and even if you have some failover scenarios or switchover or whatever. So this is library which is like an addition to original MySQL, to MySQL and forks, I would say, because MariaDB, Percona, and these forks has Galera implementation as well. So what are key features of Galera cluster? Like I said, it's certification-based semi-synchronous replications. So what is certification-based replication? It's a replication which ensures data is consistency across the cluster when every transaction is validated or certified in all nodes before being committed. It helps to prevent inconsistency, and it helps to ensure all the nodes stays synchronized. Galera is multi-master architecture. So unlike to traditional replication setups, Galera allows all nodes to handle reads and writes, but there are some limitations, and we will be talking about it today. This means you can distribute workloads evenly, reducing bottlenecks and improving performance. Galera has automatic node provisioning. It's makes process of scaling and recovery very simple. So if you are adding or recovering nodes, it's a very straightforward process with Galera. With new nodes join the cluster, it is automatically syncing to the rest of nodes. And there are two sub-processes of join. The case when it's a new node or when the data is obsolete here, so it requires full snapshot transfer, which is called SST in Galera, state snapshot transfer, and when the joined node has already data set, and it still can join cluster by taking incremental changes, which means gap between actual cluster state and actual node state. In this case, it's requesting, the process is called EST, which means incremental snapshot transfer, and the only incremental data is transferred to joiner, and the overall process of joining is much faster. It has built-in conflict resolution. So Galera has built-in mechanism to detect and reject conflicting transactions, and this helps to ensure the data integrity is never compromised. This is very helpful and useful with multi-master environment where simultaneous writes can happen. But with multi-master and simultaneous writes, we will talk later. Galera has high availability. Its automatic failover ensures the downtime could never happen, or you can minimize downtime if needed. So if node goes offline, the cluster continues operating without interruption, and you can keep mission critical application running. The only thing you just need to be focused on is quorum, which means major of nodes are in working and healthy state. So what are the benefits of using Galera? Like I said, data integrity. It's a certification-based replication, helps us to keep data consistent. What means, let me once again, certification, it's not a synchronous replication like this MDB cluster or some other solutions. There is no confirmation here that transaction actually done. Certification means when data set, when write set is sending to other nodes from master, the certification means that node confirms that this certification could be applied on this node without any inconsistency, errors, logs, etc. The other feature is scalability. So you can easily horizontal scale Galera and add as much node as you need. But of course, you should understand that if you are having more nodes in your cluster, then intercommunication between the nodes is growing, which can also cause some pressure to your network. So it doesn't mean that if scaling is possible here, that it could be unlimited and you can get as much nodes as you want. You should be measuring this process, and you should take care of these numbers. High uptime. Of course, if you can stop some node for some maintenance, etc., if you keep your quorum, then you don't even your application are not even recognizing that something happens with cluster. So Galera is very good from this perspective. Keeping high uptime is not an issue here. And easy of management. You just creating configuration for the node, starting MySQL here, and it's doing everything for you with help of WSREP. So it's WSRAP. So what is WSRAP WSREP? This is a core, the heart of Galera. This you can think about it as about library or extension, which is it's both an API and protocol that enables Galera replication and doing coordination across all the nodes. Key feature of WSREP is that it facilitates communication between nodes. It's controlling everything, coordinating nodes between each other, and WSREP manages the process of replication transactions across the nodes. When a transaction initiated, it sends write sets to every node in cluster. Each node then certifies the transactions to ensure there are no conflicts and there is no issue for committing this transaction. It also helps to ensure global ordering of transaction across all the clusters. Common and most important WSREP variables are WSREP cluster size, which means how much nodes are currently working in cluster. WSREP ready, so it indicates if the node is operational or not. And WSREP local cert failures. It means how much the certification process on the local node failed. When you have some issues with Galera, when you are doing some investigation or of some issues, you are checking, first of all, if Galera is healthy, if it is part of the cluster, and you check if certification is failing and where. It means usually this node is causing some issues, conflicts, or it's not applying the right set. So yeah, you pay attention specifically on this. Let's go. Certification in Galera. I already mentioned what it is, but what is certification? Let's talk about it more. Certification is transactions are replicated to all the nodes, validating on all the nodes before they committed. There is no acknowledge when transaction already done. So it helps to prevent conflicts by rejecting transactions that are failing certification. So let's discuss how it works. So right set transmission. When transaction is executed on node, it's packaged into so-called write set, which is containing changes made by transaction. This write set is sending to all other nodes in cluster for validation and certification. Each node which is receiving this write set independently checks incoming write set for conflicts and compares with its own local transactions. These conflicts could arise due to overlapping changes or some concurrent writes. If no conflict, transaction is committed everywhere. So it helps to ensure consistency without full synchronous replication, and it helps to reduce network overhead by transmitting only the write set instead of complete transaction logs. Galera minimizes the network bandwidth required required by transmission completed transaction logs. So it makes more efficient high or large scale deployments. And it makes, of course, Galera robust and efficient solution. Load balancing. Load balancing is a must-have part in Galera. If you don't have load balancing, you should consider you should think about it for sure. Sometimes it might happen you don't need it, but you must be thinking about it because load balancing matters in Galera. In Galera, writing to all nodes simultaneously can lead to deadlocks and certification conflicts, especially during concurrent transactions. This happens because multiple nodes may attempt to process overlapping transactions, and it can create some contention and conflicts. So proper load balancing plays critical role in mitigating these issues. Proper load balancing ensures you have even distribution of your traffic across all the nodes. You have minimized write conflicts and deadlocks, and you have, of course, high availability during node failures, because if something failed, load balancing changes the traffic routing, and there is no impact to your application. Load balancing options. Let's talk about them. There are two major options which are used with Galera. If you see load balancing with Galera, in 99% of the cases, I would say it's either HA proxy or proxy SQL. We like proxy SQL. It doesn't mean HA proxy is bad or something. HA proxy is good. I like it personally. But with Galera, I'm in most of the cases, if I am able to use proxy SQL, I use proxy SQL. So what is proxy SQL? Briefly, it's a SQL-aware, SQL-aware proxy that offers advanced features like query routing, load distribution, and real-time cluster monitoring. It's very deep integrated with Galera, and it allows to handle complex setups and manage failovers automatically, and we'll talk about it. However, its setup is not easy. You should understand how Galera is working. You should understand how proxy SQL is working. It's suitable for experienced DBAs and for advanced environments. HA proxy, in the opposite side, it's lightweight. It's reliable TCP HTTP load balancer. It's simple, high performance load balancer that can efficiently distribute traffic across Galera nodes. While it's easy to configure, HA proxy lacks Galera specific features. And it requires external scripts or tools to manage your failovers efficiently. In next slides, I will dive deeper into pros, cons, and best practices for each of solution. So proxy SQL is a feature-rich load balancer for Galera, and it's specifically designed to handle complex MySQL cases, specifically Galera cases. It has advanced query rules. Proxy SQL allows administrators, DBAs, to create detailed query routing rules, enabling precise control over the high traffic and its how traffic is distributed. So you can, for example, write queries to particular nodes and read queries to another node. You can do split of traffic, and you can check. You can add some hints. You can send some specific queries to specific nodes. It's a very rich functionality in Proxy SQL. It has automatic failover management. Proxy SQL continuously monitoring the health of Galera nodes, and it is using metrics like we mentioned, visrep ready, visrep status, and if node fails, Proxy SQL automatically reroutes traffic to operational nodes and ensures service is not interrupted. And there is native support for Galera, and in 1 month in my webinar I'm gonna shed more light about how does it work, but briefly you have you have hosts in Proxy SQL. You have group of hosts, so you are assigning host to host groups, and you have like master or source node, and you have master candidate. So in case if master fails, there is candidate, and Proxy SQL managing it itself, and switching nodes in groups, which helps you to not feel that failover happened under the hood. So what are cons? I was thinking about it. I tried to find some cons, and for me, it's configuration complexity for beginners, especially because you should understand the overall picture of how Galera is working. You should understand what you are doing and why. You should understand how to manage host groups, how to manage query rules, how to manage nodes, hosts, you should be familiar with proxy SQL before using it. Otherwise, it's sometimes you could be surprised because not everything works like named or expected. And you can follow our blog. We were opening some bugs on the proxy SQL site because we suspected, based on documentation, it should be working this way, but it works in another way. So read our posts about proxy SQL. They are very interesting as well, and they could help you to understand how proxy SQL works. And what another cons is, it has higher resource usage comparing to simple load balancer, of course. I don't want you to be wrong thinking that is high. Not high, but higher. Personally, I didn't met the situation when proxy SQL was like performance culprit or something. It wasn't the case for my experience, but you should understand that it has some resource consuming, and you should take care of this. You should check this as well. So pay attention. In most of the cases, when we are doing setup, proxy SQL has its own host, which is usually not huge. It's enough to keep something similar for proxy SQL. And how it manages failover, how you managing failover, you just applying configuration changes in real time, applying some specific commands like load MySQL servers to runtime or save to the disk, and later proxy SQL manages everything for you. Proxy SQL, regarding dynamic queries, what I mentioned, write operations are directed to nodes with lowest possible latency. Read operation could be distributed across all the nodes. So if any failed nodes is excluded from traffic, automatically proxy SQL manages everything for you. So what about HA proxy? HA proxy is lightweight. It's a reliable load balancer that provides a straightforward solution by distributing traffic in Galera. It's simple. It's low resource consuming, and it's a excellent choice for simpler environments. For when you need things to be easy, you don't need some complex solution. So simplicity is a pros for sure here. It's very easy to set up HA proxy. It's very easy to configure it. You just need to make it initially working. Just need to edit single configuration file. It's low resource usage. It's lightweight. It consumes minimal resources, and it's ideal if you performance concerned. So if you wanna lower your resource usage, you are choosing HA proxy. It has several traffic distribution algorithms. So HA proxy has round robin, it has least connection algorithms. So you can choose how you wanna make it work and how you wanna distribute traffic all over the nodes. Unlike proxy SQL, HA proxy doesn't have native Galera specific metrics monitoring, so it doesn't look at Galera metrics, and so it cannot do failovers for you. You need to do manual failover. So you have manual failover management here, and what does this mean? It typically requires some external scripts, tools, monitoring, which are watching the state of Galera cluster and performing some actions to make failover happen. But HA proxy doesn't do it for you. So managing failover with HA proxy, with HA proxy means healthy check script. So you combine healthy check scripts and monitoring. Again, these scripts can use previously mentioned variables like visrep ready and visrep status. The scripts can check if the node is operational or not, and then perform some actions. Yes, that's a cons here for sure, but it's still very good, reliable solution. So when to use HA proxy? HA proxy, like I said previously, excellent choice for lightweight setups, for start point when you need some load balancing, and when you require some simplicity. If you grow, if you wanna make your solution more complex, more advanced, you can always transition to proxy SQL without any problems. Let's talk about cluster performance dependencies. Performance dependency, the first you should understand is your cluster performance is limited to weakest node. What does this mean? That you cannot add to your cluster some very weak node, because the overall cluster performance will be the same as performance of this weak node. This is what you should always remember. If you added weak node, you slow down entire cluster, which means entire cluster will be waiting for your weak node. It creates bottleneck, affects performance, and causes some impact to entire cluster. So try to understand that in most of the cases, you should have all the nodes to be equal. The weakest node affect performance because it's causing some delay in transaction certification. It causes some replication lag. You can understand it like 5 running people and 5 running persons, and the 5th person is running slower than others, and they should finish all together. So the other 4 persons will be always waiting and looking behind for this 5th person. So this is what happens actually in Galera cluster if you added slow performance node here. Best practices is ensure all nodes have similar hardware, network configuration. Best practices is monitor performance regularly, check flow control, if it posted or not, check visrep local send queue. Visrep local send queue, it tracks the number of transactions waiting to be sent to other nodes. Persistent high value of this variable suggests that node is struggling to keep up. And flow control poset means it measures the time the cluster spends throttling transactions due to lagging nodes. And high value indicates performance issues. So if you are performance concerned, you should take care of these variables for sure, and you should monitor them. You should check them during your health checks, because even if you didn't recognize some performance issues, but you do some health check, you can recognize that some nodes aren't so fast like another ones. So make sure you are doing that and monitoring performance, I mean. The other feature I would like to mention is Galera is data center awareness which means it's enabling efficient clustering across geographically distributed data centers. So before this feature became to Galera, it was like that each nodes were talking to each other. So every node were talking to any other node, to all other nodes. And this caused some issues if cluster had some group of nodes and they were geographically distributed. So it caused some latency when one data center was each node of one data center was like communicating with each node from another data center. This geographically geographically distribution feature, you are able to group nodes and to configure that the particular node or that some nodes from one group can talk to another node and other group, and the communication is built between specific nodes, not between all of them. It's a reduced latency. Transactions are processed closer to their origin and minimizing the time required by replication and certification and communication. It improves resource utilization, so not with different data centers, they are handling their local workloads more efficiently, and they're reducing cross-region communication overhead. It improves flow control, so it has more optimized flow control mechanism and designed to prevent bottlenecks during high traffic. So the communication with nodes are more smooth, and it's more suitable for high traffic periods and high loaded environments. It helps to parallel applying, and so faster transaction applying for high concurrency workloads. So this feature, I like it because if you need to have some backup cluster, I mean, if you should have some redundancy, prior to this feature, it was a pain to have to get two equal clusters in different geographic areas. Now it's much more better and it's improved. So best practices for Galera deployment. Best practice is you should keep odd number of nodes for better quorum handling, because quorum is critical to avoid split brain scenarios. When split brain happen, if you have like cluster divided to two equal set of nodes, then split brain means the cluster itself, each of group, when the network is broken or something, doesn't understand if this group is primary or not. This with even node. But with odd number of nodes, it ensures proper quorum handling. Quorum is very critical. Take care of it. If you have some even number of nodes, there is a so-called GARBD. This is daemon. It's a, you can think about it as a fake node, which is operating like a Galera node, but it doesn't have any data. It's participating in communication, and the other nodes are thinking this is a real node. So if you have, in my case, in my experience, I had a cluster with two nodes, and the failover was done by HA proxy custom scripts between two of nodes, and the third one was GARBD. So if one node fails, the other node, together with GARBD, they are thinking they are majority of cluster, and they are proceeding, and failovers happening from one node to another one, and actually everything was working. The best practice for deployment is place your nodes in low latency networks, because Galera is perfect if there is no network latency. If you have network latency I would say it's not so perfect. So consider network latency as one of the option when you're considering using Galera cluster. It's very important. The other important thing is configuring Gcache size. Gcache is so-called log, which is keeping transactional data for recovery needs. It ensures that the synced nodes can rejoin to the cluster efficiently without full SST, without full state state snapshot, without state snapshot transfers. So you can think about it. The Gcache is this incremental data, and if the other node is joining and it's behind of this incremental data set, it will request full snapshot. So keeping enough sized Gcache is important as well, but do not make it very huge. I don't think very huge Gcache is beneficial, especially because it could cause some maintenance overhead. So measure it by how to measure Gcache. You can check your how fast it's growing, and you can in your test environments like staging or some development environment, you can simulate Galera traffic, and you can drop some nodes out of the cluster and making it join it the cluster again and see in logs if what happened, incremental or full snapshot transfer. So you can understand by testing if in your workload, in your environment, Gcache size is enough or not enough. Like I said, monitor cluster performance regularly. There is tools, cluster control, but any other tools are possible as well. It could be Zabbix, it could be PMM, it could be whatever. So Galera is not limited for any specific solutions. So monitoring cluster is very important. Monitoring variables, which I mentioned before, is very important. And use load balancer. Load balancer is must for consideration, at least. By implementing this list of best practices, you can create Galera cluster which will be reliable, capable to handle your workload with minimal downtime and maximum efficiency. The other best practices advised are, of course, do backups. I would say there are engineers who are doing backups or who will do backups, because your backups must have every data is very painful. So if you are building Galera cluster, the next things to consider is backup. Percona backup is very, or MariaDB backup is very suitable for it. It's a non-locking backup solution for Galera cluster, and it works with Galera cluster. And you can even configure state snapshot transfer with help of extra backup solution. It's a tool which is integrated into Galera. Gcache management, like I said, measure it and make sure it has appropriate site, monitoring, and upgrade planning. Upgrading and data definition changes planning. Upgrading Galera is not complicated if you can stop one node to make sure you can stop one node, upgrade it, and make it join the cluster. But make sure you are upgrading not major version of Galera, but minor version of it, or in most of the cases you can even use major version because it's compatible. But Galera, you should plan upgrading in Galera before applying in production for sure. And the other thing to consider is how you are doing your altering or data definition changes, because there are two options in Galera. I didn't mention it in slides, but it's it will be mentioned in high availability session in 1 month. There are two options of if you are doing schema changes. It's a total order isolation and rolling schema updates. The first one means the alter or schema changes are happening in all the nodes simultaneously, which could have some impacts, like cluster could be locked down or unresponsible during these schema changes, or you can have rolling schema updates, which means you are isolating nodes in a way that it is part of the cluster, but what happens in schema changes in these nodes is happening only locally, and is not transferred as write set to the other nodes. But in this case, you should understand that if you are writing in other nodes, or if you are significantly changing schema, you can have some deadlocks or data integrity issues. So plan your upgrades, plan your alters, make sure you faced issue on prior stages, not on prod, and test, of course. Optimize Galera performance. Keep transactions small. In my experience, Galera is very good. It's excellent if you have small sized transactions. It's it's not suitable for analytics, for some heavy jobs, etc. It's very good if you have small, fast transactions. So it makes replication quicker, avoids bottlenecks, slowdown, etc. You don't need to play with flow control. You don't need to deal with some locking, and optimize workload. Optimize your write pattern to avoid conflicts, which means conflicts could happen in Galera, especially if you have foreign keys. So if you have a lot of foreign keys everywhere, you should like check, you should understand, or you should do some research if Galera is suitable for you or not, because avoid concurrent updates. So if you are updating same rows or tables in different nodes, so when you are actually writing to different nodes, so you are like acting like multi-master, then it could produce deadlocks and it could produce issues. So even if Galera is multi-master, it means you can write. It's recommended to write to one single master at the same time. Don't do current writing to different nodes, because it's a way to get some issues with cluster. And monitoring and just flow control. Like I said, flow control ensures that slower nodes don't fall too far behind of the cluster. So control it, make sure it's the flow control actions like slow downs are not happening, and asynchronous write. So the main question when what I was asked implementing Galera what should I do if I have some jobs, analytics jobs, and how should I run it if my data is in Galera? Galera is library which is implemented into MySQL, and Galera node could be mastered for replicate for as a replica. If you have some heavy jobs, you can build replica of Galera node and make heavy jobs here and run heavy jobs here, because asynchronous replication will not stop your Galera cluster. So don't do some heavy analytics in Galera. Otherwise, it could cause some issues. Common challenges and solutions. So network latency can slow down synchronous replication, like I said, and solution, deploy nodes to each other, same data center, with lowest possible network latency. The other challenge, like we mentioned, let's repeat again, write conflicts with multi-master setups, use application level sharding, so you can, let's say, you can get multiple databases in Galera cluster, and you can write into one database in one node and you can write to another database in another node. It's possible. It will not cause any issues, but it can get some complications with maintenance. And challenge, Gcache is insufficient for large transaction. So if you have large transaction anyway, make sure Gcache can handle it. And if you have, make sure Gcache is proper configured. So if you're even doing a restart of the node, it can still take incremental snapshot, because if a single restart doesn't allow you to take incremental snapshot, then it's a best signal to increase Gcache. That's all from my side. Before we are starting QA, I still want to show you that we will have on February 19 another webinar about mastering high availability with Galera, and I will show you in real examples how proxy SQL and how HA proxy could be configured. We will check what deadlocks actually mean, why it could happen. We can check how to simulate it. So we will be more focused on high availability with Galera. And time for question and answers. Any questions? Aha, I see.
It's really allowed.
Yes, if the Galera cluster is serving multi-tenant databases and doing multi-master writes, okay, you can have different databases. You can do multi-master writes, but imagine that, and you will not have any deadlocks issues, but it has complication when you have to maintain your cluster, because imagine you have like 3 nodes. You are writing to database A on node 1 and to the database B on node 2, and you need to maintain node 1, and you need to do failover. So if there are 2 or multiple projects dependent on single cluster, maintenance of one project could impact maintenance of another project. So maintenance, failover, switchover could be very complicated here. So from technical perspective, what you're asking is possible, but maintenance in this case is becomes to more complicated level. I would say like this. Other questions? How do I know if 3 nodes are enough for my workload? Measuring, benchmarking, you have flow control, which we were talking about. If you see flow control as slowing down, if some nodes is not performant enough, and if it's slowing down the cluster, you can see it in flow control statistics if flow control was paused. So you understand that you have not enough of resources to handle your traffic. If you can measure benchmarking reads, so Galera is very easy to scale horizontally, and if you see that if your performance of read is not sufficient, you are understanding that it's not enough to have 3 nodes. Actually, it's a health check, performance check based on your monitoring statistics, PMM, etc. And of course, looking at status variables in Galera.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, looks like we don't have questions anymore. One more.
I see.
You're welcome.
So Rolando is typing, I think.
Gcache has Gcache size is configurable in in Galera configuration or MySQL configuration file. So you just set the size of Gcache here. I don't remember if it could be done in runtime. Can't recall this right now, but it's configurable like any other things, like buffers, like logs. So you set how much Gcache could be, how much of space Gcache could utilize.
So do we have more?
So yeah. I scrolled down. Sorry. When the file gets too big, is it safe to delete after shutdown and then restart? I would say that Gcache is truncating when you are doing restart. So when the file is just set, you don't need to delete file. You just need to set it in configuration and restart Galera, or I don't know exactly. I don't remember if you can make it in runtime, but you don't need to delete anything. You just need to set configuration value, and that's it. And Galera will handle it and will shortenize it if needed. Out of curiosity, is that former Percona employee's company missing your boss? I was working for Percona for many years, so yeah.
guess it's pure coincidence that we are both here.
Yeah. And we met each other when I was working in Percona at the conference. Yeah. Any other questions? Of course, thank you very much for your attendance today.
Thanks.
Okay, then thank you. It was a good journey.